Ras al Ghul.
Greetings, detective.
Detective. I like how I love how he says
God, I
detective.
love how he
It's
says
just so
that.
good. So good. What's happening, guys? Welcome to Batman the Fan-imated stream. I'm, of course, the host, Mr. Dave the Film Junkie. With him, as always, Mr. Scott McClellan. How's it going, sir?
Dude, you should see the amount of notes I took on this episode.
It's a great episode. It's such a good episode.
It's such a good episode, and yet bittersweet for us in 2022 because we lost Denny O'Neil last year.
Yeah.
Did we lose him last year or 2020? I can't remember.
It all blends because of the pandemic.
I know it really does.
Yeah.
But then this year we lost both Neil Adams and David Warner.
Mhm.
So and all three of those names are essential to this episode. And of course I'll expound on that, as we go along, but still it's like I love this episode. Damn, did we have to wait till we lost all those people to talk about it?
To get to it. I know. It's sad, but it's the way things are. But yes, we're talking about the Devil's Quest.
Demon's Quest.
Demon's Quest, sorry. Already a foul up. Sorry. The Demon's Quest part 1. And we already got an introduction to Mr. Raz or Raish or whatever you want to call it. I know people call it different things, and I think we kind of discussed that, like the proper way to say his name.
Yeah, and the only and I know Fatma has talked a lot about with Arabic. I think the Ras al Ghul, she is very, and since that is her heritage, it's like I defer to her when it comes to that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll take her word on it. Yeah.
Exactly. I will never let go of Raish only because of two reasons. One, that's the way Denny O'Neil pronounced it. So that was the way that when this character was introduced to me in this episode, it was like, this is the pronunciation that's been burned in my brain. Oh yes, pretty powerful female guy. We're gonna talk about that.
We're gonna talk about those strikes. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good to see you again, detectives. Yes, I just love how he calls him detective. It's really fantastic.
Well, it's like between him calling Batman detective and Talia calling him beloved. It's just when you hear those words, it's like you know who these characters are.
Yeah. Dennis O'Neil said it should be said like how they say it in the series, according to his interview on Fat Man on Batman. So
yeah, because that was the way Denny O'Neil always pronounced it.
Yeah.
The argument just becomes in actual Arabic.
Yes. So it's pretty much how are we going to say it? Like pretty much just Raish.
Raish. Yeah. I pronounce it like it's spelled Raysh.
Okay. Yeah. Kind of like this, I guess you could say.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I have heard some people say, and once again, people disagree. I have heard that there is, I think, because it translates as the demon's head. I have heard some people say that depending on whether you pronounce it Raish or Raz, one is literally a demon's head, and then the other one is more figurative, like you're saying head of state.
Okay. Makes sense. There you go. There's your lesson for when it comes to pronouncing Ras al Ghul. And yes, he's very much a subject in this episode, which we already got our tease at one point. We already met Talia off balance, and we got the little tease right at the end, which it was kind of cool because it's like, oh, there he is, and it's just kind of funny when you
or the 10-year-old us going, who's that?
Yeah, exactly. Wait, is that the guy that guy who did all the crazy Doom stuff that he did that one episode? I remember I always got them confused right there. Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you for saying that. Appreciate it. But anyways, yeah. And what's interesting about the start of this episode is no real title card on this, kind of, but not really.
And a whole prologue sequence before we get to the title. which does come. This is a great time to mention that this episode, up to a point, and I can point it out when we get there, is, dear God, like a ripped from the page, panel by panel adaptation of Batman number 232, which has a cover date of June 1971 and is called Daughter of the Demon.
Yeah.
But was, of course, written by Denny O'Neil and drawn by Neil Adams. But yeah, it's like it's like you just rip the pages out. Like they followed it. Of course, when you pay attention to who wrote this episode,
of course,
followed it pretty beat by beat. And there is a prologue in that issue. Now, the funny thing is that the flipping cover like spoils the twist.
Kind of does, doesn't it? I'm thinking I got the right cover in my brain.
Let me see if I can bring up the cover, because
I was like thinking about that too. I was like, oh yeah, we should have. Yeah, I should have had that on hand, because I thought about that issue when I was watching this episode, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. It kind of.
Well, hold on. Here we go. I found it. Let's share this. But it's just like serious. It's like, seriously. You know, there. Come on, that one. There we go. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah. When I decide Robin must die, he dies. Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it's like, well, thank you for ruining the whole flipping twist in the episode. I mean, really? Right.
Yeah, yeah, it's still a pretty awesome cover. That's the thing, and you know what?
Neil Adams cover, of course it's awesome.
Yeah, of course it's very, very awesome. I mean, but that's the thing, is like sometimes you get these. I remember specifically. I remember one flash cover that it's embedded into my brain. When I was we were at the market, we were checking out, and I'm going over to the little comic book, you know, that rotating stand that they all were in it.
Spinner rack. Yeah,
spinner rack. And then I remember just seeing the cover of this Flash issue that showed the Flash on the ground, blood all over his back, and it said R.I.P. written in blood. And I was going, oh, I gotta get this issue with the Flash dies. You know, it was like I don't know if you remember that little arc right there where the Flash did die, and he got killed by who did he get killed by? Totally forgot.
Well, yeah, is this Wally? Is this when Wally was the Flash?
Yeah, it's a Wally West. It's Wally West Flash. Where goddamn, I can't remember. Was it? Shit, it was in like 1991 too, or something like that. But it was kind of like he gets killed. He kind of does he goes off into like a heaven kind of thing, and then they kind of rebuild his body a little bit. They give him like a new suit, and it was, I don't know. So it was a great little,
yeah. Oh, I think I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay.
I forgot who shot him though. I'm just totally blanking on that. But I just talking about covers and just seeing that. I mean, it does happen. He does get shot at the end, but it's just like they just kind of just show it right there, like, oh yeah, R.I.P. But it was such a dark cover that it made me go, mom, I gotta get this, I gotta get this book, I gotta get it, because it was just like. And then of course I got like 10 of the issues after it, because I wanted to see this arc finish itself out. So yeah, those damn spinner racks, man. I want a spinner rack. I want to find one and just stick like any books that I have, just stick them all in there. Just to have it up somewhere. I remember looking on like eBay and stuff to try spinner racks. They're kind of expensive. They're not hard to come by, and they're kind of expensive. I was like, shit, man. All right. I was like, because I had this whole idea of like, oh, it would be cool to have either like a shelf to put that magazines were on, or DVDs for like a background thing, and then a spinner rack too. But I was like, God damn, they're hard to find first off, and then they're pretty expensive. I was like, shit. So we'll see what happens maybe later on.
Man, we just started the episode off with a tangent, didn't we?
We totally did. You know, just what we do here. It's what we do here. But yes, I know we went from, hey, the title card, not exactly a title card, to whoop. Yeah. Well, spinner racks.
Spinner racks. Hey, you know, damn it, Barry. Oh, no, that's right. Damn it, Wally.
Yeah.
But yeah, because we get the cool prologue, and I mean, like, what a great atmosphere setter, because the lightning and the rain, it's stormy, and you got that theme going, da 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 da. Which, by the way, this is not a Shirley Walker episode. This is a Michael McCuson I can never pronounce that
Well,
man's last name.
welcome to my world. I'm
Damn
really,
it. I don't
I'm
like
that
being in your world, Dave.
up.
But it's a wonderful musical motif that
It
plays
is.
throughout this entire episode.
And then you're kind of wondering, like, wait, well, what's happening here? But it's just Robin just going back to his dorm. I mean, I was like, oh, okay, we're at Gotham University. He's getting back into his dorm, which I love the fact that I wrote it down too. He has a picture of Bruce.
Bruce, yes.
I just looked at him like, oh, Dick has a picture of Bruce Wayne just on his dresser, and I'm like, that's cool, I guess. I mean, he looks up to the man. I get it. You know, it's understandable, but it just kind of threw me off. That was like the first thing I noticed when he was getting
it's
back
kind of like
into
having like your family photos, because he does have a picture of the Flying Graysons,
Yes,
like right
he
next
does.
to it there. So
True. Yeah, so it was just it's just kind of funny. But then of course he's met with some intruders inside his dorm, and one of them of course being the, what do they call him, the devil's head, or like that's
that kind of looks like Anubis. I think that's what.
Yeah.
So it's a jackal's head.
Okay.
I think is what it's supposed to be, but because Raish's origin is ancient Egypt, I think it would make sense that he would probably have Anubis, god of the dead from Egyptian mythology.
Definitely comes from that. Looks like that. It's freaky looking. That's for damn
Very
sure.
freaky looking, especially in the animated series style, where there's got all the straight lines and all that. Yeah.
Exactly. And then of course, then we kind of fast forward a couple of days. We don't know right away, but of course, I almost wrote the note, but I was like, all right, this is 2 days later, because then we finally get the title card, which is what we see behind here, and it's just the door to the Batcave. It's the door to the Batcave. I mean, and we see the title card, we see that, then all of a sudden when it goes away, and Batman comes through his bike, and I almost went, of course, it was storming outside. Of course, he's riding his bike. I started thinking like that, but I'm like, but then when he talks to Alfred, it's been 2 days. They've been looking for Dick. They've been looking. Nobody's seen Dick or Robin anywhere. He's checked out everything. So obviously they're kind of just going, what the hell? And then of course he gets a nice little envelope.
I want to take a moment before you move on, though, to point out that after the title, because we didn't really get a quote title card, we just get we get the cue, the cues up there, but this episode was actually written by Denny O'Neil. He adapted his own issue and wrote the script. And we've talked about how Marv Wolfman has written an episode. Lynn Wein has written a couple of episodes. I mean, he wrote last week's episode. So it's still just so cool to me that now that I'm old enough to recognize these names, that like legit comic book writers were writing episodes. And at the time this episode aired, Denny O'Neil was the editor on Batman comics. He was like the editor-in-chief of Batman comics at this point.
No, it's a newfound respect for this series when you watch it older and you start looking at names everywhere. You're paying attention to the credits and everything. And no, there's just like a newfound, and you go, wow, yeah, they were really, and it makes you hopeful for maybe, with obviously the Cape Crusader thing that's coming out. I mean, makes you wonder if they do something like that with that series, which David said,
did not touch that. Yeah, I was about to say, Axe of Zaslav, hands off. But they kind of already started it by having Ed Brubaker as like a head writer.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm going. I don't think, like when I remember people were asking me, people were sending me messages like, "Hey, do you think the new animated series is in trouble?" I'm like, well, I think anything can be in trouble, but at the same time, I'm going, it would be so stupid if they decided to just go, all right, we're not going to do that, because
it's Batman.
It's Batman, and it's another animated series. They know exactly how big this animated series is. That's why you can still watch every episode on HBO Max. The players involved are still involved, and like you said, we got some extra players involved that's going to add to it. It's going to be a little bit more grittier. It's going to be, and I think that I'm pretty sure it's 100% safe. Like they're going to be like, yeah, move forward with that, of course. So we'll be okay, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, Zaslav was just making us a little nervous.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. Oh man, I do appreciate how concerned Alfred is, and he's like, "I better go upstairs, sir, in case he calls." And of course, he hands him the envelope. It's from a messenger. I didn't write it down, but I love the fact that if you pay attention to it, we actually get the address for Wayne Manor on the envelope.
That's right, huh? It is addressed right there. But yeah, and then we get, of course, we get an image of Robin tied up, and then of course there's like some kind of somebody holding a specific kind of dagger, like a wavy kind, or I don't know exactly what you would call that kind of dagger.
I don't know. I always call it a squiggly. It's a squiggly dagger.
Yeah, squiggly dagger. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. And yeah, so that's, of course, shocking. That is, of course, shocking. And then, of course, what's even more shocking is Raish and his number one dude next to him, Abu, I think his name was,
Ubu.
right? Boo Boo. Okay.
No, not Boo Boo.
Ubu. Ubu. Ubu.
Ubu.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spell it with me, Dave. U
B U. Yes, I spelled it correctly on my notes, but for some reason I went Abu. I don't know why. I was thinking maybe
Aladdin. That's the monkey.
Yeah, I was thinking Aladdin. Totally had an Aladdin moment right there. But yeah, Ubu, which is like a big, huge, bald, brooding dude who wears a vest, and yes. And then they're just there. And then of course, this is when, like, you know, Bruce has already taken off the cowl, you know, he's already, by the way, am I wrong, or does the fucking costume look really cool in this episode?
You know why? Because the blue is so dark. It's practically black in this episode.
Right? I was like man, why is like this the costume is looking sharp. I mean, and I even wrote it too later on. I wrote it right here. It says Batman's costume seems almost black and gray. And then there's even moments where even the gray looks dark. Like they really, I don't know, the animation's pretty damn good in this.
This
really
is good. And this is also a name we've mentioned many times before. This is directed by Kevin Altieri. So we're we're talking about like one of our heavy, like, he's the guy who directed like Heart of Steel and so many other things. Oh, I directed, I think he was the one who directed On Leather Wings. So like, we're not talking about a slouch here when it comes to our director.
We're talking about, especially like directing one of the first episodes, or the first episode, I should say. But yes, but then Raish is there, and then of course, Bruce starts freaking out, and it's like, how the hell they get? And then I love how Raish just kind of just goes like, well, later on he explains how he found out who he was and everything. But then of course we get the whole like coughing of Raish, like when he starts coughing, and just and he admits that he's older. I'm older than I love how yes, older than you can imagine and stuff like that. And it's just like, yep. And of course, knowing the character and knowing the episode, you go, oh, okay, he was already hinting like to Batman and everything about what was happening here. And then of course they're like, all right, well, we have to go to India because, hey, I know where your boy is. And then of course it's just like you're trying to fool Batman here. Are you really trying to fool Batman here?
But it gives Batman the opportunity to recognize the knife and even recognize the rope. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like, that's like Sherlock Holmes level, that Batman's pulling here, which is something that I love about. There's a couple of things I really enjoy about when Denny O'Neil writes Batman, because Denny O'Neil in the 70s, when he took over writing Batman, especially when he ended up pairing up with Neil Adams, is one, they brought Batman back to being, his dark roots. We talked about that like with Laughing Fish. But then also they made him James Bondian. Like this, like in the comics, this is when he's living in like Wayne Tower. That's why I loved it when we saw that all in The Batman by Matt Reeves. That was very much that 70s era. So it was really fun to realize that when he kind of he made Bruce Wayne that more of the playboy and made him kind of James Bond. Like this is a globe-trotting episode. I mean,
100%. Yeah. And that's what's great about it too. And then of course, I just love this whole thing with Ubu and the fact that he can't exit or leave, go through any doorway without having, obviously Raish go first, and like he shoves Batman out of the way. I mean, like not just shoves. I mean,
boom, and I love it when Raish is like, "You must excuse my manservant. He can be what you might call overzealous. You might call it overzealous." And I love how Batman goes, I think I'll call it strike one.
Yeah, no. And then we're like, oh yeah, that's gonna come into play. We're gonna get to strike three, one of the yeah, I think, in somewhere in this episode. And then yeah, he says that, and then of course when they're on the plane, this is where Raish kind of he pretty much explains how he found Bruce, and it's just like because he leads, a secret, kind of something in Gotham, and of course they're gonna know. And I mean, yeah, I guess if you have the powers at your will, you're gonna kind of put two and two together when it comes to like,
Well,
hey,
to be
yeah,
honest, like, don't you
yeah,
ever think not
yeah,
just somebody, but several somebodies should be able to like figure this one out? Like,
exactly.
but now that I'm older, I also wonder if we should call bullshit on that explanation,
Mm,
because when we know that Talia saw him without his mask back in Off
true.
Balance, now he acknowledges that. He even says, yeah, Bruce Wayne was the one that matched my daughter's description. But I think back to Off Balance when Batman starts to say, "Then I'm," and she goes, "Shh, the walls have ears. Like, don't say it." It's like, did Talia really take off the mask and not know that was Bruce Wayne and just matched a physical description to what Rachel going, or is Race, or can we call bullshit? And just like, no, your daughter saw who you were and told me you were Bruce
I
Wayne.
mean, I don't mean maybe. I mean, there's like that. Yeah, maybe she just explained. Like, maybe she didn't know who he was. And I mean, it's always a very weird thing because I've even had that complaint when it came to, when it came to the Snyderverse, and you have Clark going, "Who's that?" It's like, how do you not know who Bruce Wayne is? And then you have Barry going, "Why is there a perfect? I don't know who you are, but blah 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 blah." And I'm like, do you not know who Bruce Wayne is? I mean, I've always kind of wondered, like, just how, when
In
it
the
comes to,
public,
yeah, how much of a public persona does he have? I mean, obviously in today's world, not back in the 90s, today's world, obviously it's going to be a lot more because we have all this information at our fingertips. But back then, maybe not so much. I don't know.
well, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
It's like, think about people like Rockefeller
yeah.
or those robber barons. It's like, you knew the name,
But you don't
but
know what they
could
look like.
but could you pick the guy out of a crowd kind of
Nope.
deal?
Nope. So I think like nowadays, I think just living in nowadays, when we think about the stuff, and this is stuff that they have to consider too when it comes to superheroes now, which is kind of cool that, you with every little new, decade, we have to like adapt to the era. And now we have the era of just like social media. Everybody has a camera strapped to their ass. That's why it's like, when I think when it came to Batman, when it comes to Batman, it's a lot harder because he's not gonna be out there during the day. He's gonna be more at night. But even like when it came to the Batman and seeing all the stuff that the Riddler had all on his wall, you could maybe like, because you have like a sketch of Batman and possibly a faint image, and you have Bruce Wayne like right next to it. You could almost go, wait a minute, I know that chin, or something. I don't know.
But there's also, going back to, even Matt Reeves, the Batman, there was such talk about how Bruce was a hermit. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, if he doesn't pop his head out that much, how you going to know, like, what he looks like? Like, him
True.
showing up for the mayor's funeral in that film was like, oh my
Shocking.
God, Bruce
Yeah.
Wayne came
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah, people were shocked about that. But when it comes to this Batman, I mean, he does make public appearances. I mean, even the last episode we watched, they're doing a demonstration with that helicopter. He's there. He's chilling. He's like, I mean, I don't know if it was filmed. Was it filmed? I don't remember. I don't
No,
think it
well,
was.
I think they were
Yeah,
filming. I think that, well, no, I think there was, because there was someone doing a camera.
it
But
was,
maybe
right?
that was like like maybe that was top secret, like
It wasn't
military
for the
archive.
media. It
It wasn't for
wasn't
the
for the
media.
media. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, we could go we could have a whole episode talking about the ins and outs of trying to figure out who Batman is. But let's just say Raish, he has his stuff, he has his sources, he could do this.
He's also thousands of,
Yeah.
hundreds, maybe thousands of years old.
And I,
So yeah.
and I love how he mentions to Batman about like something that Napoleon told him. Like I forgot exactly what the quote was, but he mentions how Napoleon told him something, and Batman's just like, what?
What?
Like you see, like the eyes. The eyes are like, it's like if he wasn't wearing the cowl, he'd have his freaking like eyebrow up. Like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Napoleon? Huh? I mean, I just thought that was pretty cool because they're like hinting. I love how they give subtle hints that yes, this guy is not how he looks, and there's a reason for it that you're going to find out at the end of this episode if you don't know, and that's what was so great about it.
And that was also great when we were 10 because we didn't
Yes.
know. We didn't know who this guy was.
Exactly. And it was quite a reveal, which is what's going to be the clip for
of course it's going to be the clip.
Because it's just so cool. It's such a great cliffhanger.
It's so good.
And I love the whole like Batman in like has a winter coat over his costume. They're gonna like obviously parachute out of the helicopter. I don't know why I just like that. I always like it when he has to have extra clothing on.
It's like the variant action figures.
Yes, yes, that's exactly what it is. Yes.
Okay, so we jumped so far ahead because you're already talking about the Himalayas, but we haven't even gotten to Calcutta yet.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine in India.
Yeah.
But I always think it's interesting. Like, there's just Batman, Raish, and Ubu like walking in the middle of a street in Calcutta. Batman saying about this is an area, and he was going, "It's my job to know these things."
Yes,
and once again, oh god, well, once again, just like this ultimate detective.
Yes,
stuff. Once again,
and Raish acknowledges that, and that's why I would say that's why he calls him detective. I mean, he's just very much just the way he says it with such fear, like detective, and he knows how good Batman is, and it shows in this episode.
Yeah, and then you get those assassins who attack them, and there is, I don't know if it never struck me as much as it struck me when I was watching it for talking about it tonight, but the way that when Batman's kicking those assassins' asses, and you just see Raish go, yes, and you realize later that you're like, he is like just got like a hard on at this point because Batman is everything that he's the advertised goods. It's
he's everything that he'd want his son to be.
Yes,
because that's what he mentions later on. I mean, he doesn't have a son; he has a daughter. So it's like, all right, now I need to pick somebody who's worthy of my daughter to continue my name. And he's seeing and putting Batman through the ringer and seeing him kick all these guys' asses. He's like, yes, this is the guy. This is who I've been looking for, probably for God knows how long, because we know how old he is. He's been, God knows how long he's been searching for maybe somebody like this. And he's
for an heir,
Yeah. He's licking his chops when all this stuff's happening. He's like, yes. And then, of course, Batman questions one of those goons and everything to try to figure out.
By the way, that goon is a very well-known voice actor, by the way. Frank Welker.
Okay, that sounds familiar, but what's his
every animal you have ever heard in a cartoon is Frank Welker. He is every bird, cat, dog. When we were growing up, remember Tasmania?
Yeah, I do.
He was Taz. He's
Taz.
Did you remember the Page Master?
Yeah, I remember that with Macaulay Culkin.
He was the voice of
Lloyd, right?
Yeah, he was the voice of horror.
Okay. I remember seeing that a long time ago.
But yeah, every sound effect, every animal that you have heard, any talking animal or anything, it's Frank Welker. So it's so weird to actually hear him speak in a human voice
and something different. And then I love this bit here to Raish, when they talk about the rainforest, when they're walking through and they're talking about the rainforest and Raish is talking about how it's dying, and how
because they go to Malaysia. Yeah,
because they go to Malaysia. Yeah, like I said, this is a globe-trotting fucking episode. So yes, now we're into Malaysia, and then of course he starts talking about that. And I love how Bruce kind of gets defensive. He gets offensive. He's like, "Hey, the Wayne Foundation, we throw a bunch of money at stuff," and Raish is all, "What's your money gonna do for this? Are you kidding me? Money? Ha!" And it was just kind of like an interesting back and forth because obviously he was, Bruce was kind of offended. Batman, he was kind of offended by it because it's like, hey, I do my part. And then Raish is all, hey, your part is money. What's money going to do when it comes to all this?
They're cutting these rainforests down faster than your money could even possibly try to save. Which is also great because for those who knew the Raish character, not us at the time, but to know that his whole motivation is an eco-terrorist.
Yes.
like, I mean, we've had Poison Ivy as an eco-terrorist, but Ras al Ghul is like on a whole nother like level. Like, we've got like an immortal demigod eco-terrorist here, and like he is all about we should respect we should serve the planet. We shouldn't be bending the planet to our will. And it's so great because that's his entire character motivation. And what a
Yeah.
great conversation. I'm glad you brought the conversation because it's like it just lays it out right there.
Big time. And yeah, so I wanted to make note of that because it shows, yeah, like it shows like why he's doing this kind of stuff. And I mean, has there ever been like a Ra's al Ghul and Poison Ivy like team up book or anything? Probably has or had to have been.
There
Maybe
had to have been at some
yeah,
point. I just, nothing comes
pop.
to mind. But those two characters, I mean, if a writer in the last, what we're at 50 years has not done that, somebody hasn't been doing their flipping job.
Yeah, there's got to be something out there, but it needs to be something that, maybe I don't know, maybe we'll see more of that, something like that in the future too. But and then so as they're walking through, and then they reach like this little, like, I guess you could say kind of like a temple kind of thing
I
or
would say
whatever.
temple, absolutely,
Yeah,
because it definitely has Hindu iconography inside of the temple.
and the statues too kind of
Yeah.
have the same little thing. And then of course, a door comes down, a panther comes out, which is not something that you want to happen. You don't want to be trapped in somewhere with a panther. But man, does Batman do a good job? He uses this is what I love. I love how he uses the cape and cowl to just kind of like, hey, I know how to get this. Get this cat right here, which he uses that to basically trap him in the cape, and then of course knock him out with some kind of gas or whatever the hell. And
Oh, by the
get rid
way,
of that.
what is this cape made out of? That a
I don't
freaking panther can't like just tear its way out of it. I mean,
Oh,
I
come on,
noticed
man. It's the bat costume.
it is, we've seen, but we've
Yeah, I
seen like
know. I know.
bullets like tear through it. So
Yeah.
you're telling me that that cape is gonna hold up like that?
Oh man. I mean, there's just so many things. You just reminded me of like a Dark Knight when he talks about it, like when he's stitching himself up and he's like, I got attached by a dog, and he goes, "It was a big dog." It's like I need more armor. It's just like, yeah, sometimes the costume could stop bullets, but man, when you get a dog gnawing at your arm, that really kind of just that got you right there. But yeah, I know it's like you got to really suspend the disbelief when it comes to the bat suit.
By the way, I did a quick little Googling, and
Mm.
while I could not pull up anything readily, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I'm just saying, though I couldn't pull up anything readily of in continuity team ups between Ra's al Ghul and Poison Ivy, Tom Taylor did tackle that at some point during his run doing the Injustice comics.
Okay, so that there's something out there. I don't know. It seems to me like they need to team up again or something like that. I don't know. Maybe something you can. I don't know. We'll see. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see like a full on something in the future or something like that. Someone's going to try to tackle it again. And that's just us just talking about this episode and realizing who Raish is and what's his motivations for what he's doing. So. But yeah, so we get in there, and of course he takes on the Panther, and then of course Ubu just kind of strong dude.
Oh my god, smashes through a steel door. I mean, seriously.
Yeah. Whew, I was like, wow, okay. I mean, you just needed him for sure. And and then of course, he sees that, and then of course they find the map of the Himalayas, which is another clue. And of course, again, Raish is he's impressed by obviously what Batman did, and then of course we get this sarcastic, "After you."
Before then though,
Okay.
he starts coughing again.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
and Ubu lets slip about the pit. So I
Mm-hmm.
love it how they tease the pit.
There's even Batman goes a pit.
Pit.
Like, yeah.
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 But yes, the after you. and then I love it how Ubu goes, and then
Yeah.
Batman goes, yeah, I see how this is. Because he
Yeah.
didn't stop him before he went into the temple. So it's like,
Mhm.
once again, if you're paying attention, they wrote in all the clues you needed to see
100%.
what was going on. So it was, I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. And then now we get to the variant Batman with the furry coat, and of course he's going to be dropping out of the copter, and then of course little surprise, little twist which is as his parachute goes off, and he's just kind of just in there in the sky, and all of a sudden a missile just goes right by him and just blows up the copter, and it was just like, what? Of course, when you're younger, you're like, huh? But of course, we know, we know that
exactly.
they weren't actually in there. But and then of course, a bunch of fires, like they're just like shooting at Batman. So of course, he just like goes, click, let me just get out of this damn thing. I'm a freaking, literally a sitting duck over here, like. And then of course, there's a lot of Batman utilizing clothing to distract things, because then he's got the fur coat that's like in the snow, and all the guys that show up on the skis, they just start shooting at the coat, thinking that he might just be laying there, but of course he's not, and takes him out as he does.
Because we didn't mention it back with the Panther in Malaysia. That one, I do love the fact that when the Panther starts slinking, I love the fact that Batman like did the whole thing where he like did the cape envelops himself kind of deal, and then he threw the cape up to distract the Panther the same way that he uses the coat with these gunmen to distract them. And of course, then you just feel bad for Batman, because there he is, in his tights, walking around in the freaking Himalayas,
freezing his ballies off right there for sure. I know, it's like, and you can see him too. Like when he gets done, he's like. And you see the cold, like you actually again, the animation really top notch in this episode. You got the breath, you got a nice little sky in the background and stuff like that. But it's just they wanted to emphasize it's like, all right, kind of tired, it's cold, and he's breathing hard, and you just see the breath coming out of his mouth, which I thought
because
cool.
Technically also because we're in the Himalayas,
yes,
the air is thin as hell. Like there's no oxygen.
No, and that's got to be taxing to your system right there to just go right into that. Because they always talk about like when people climb shit or even go, you always try to prepare yourself before you go.
There's always like stations that you have to sit at to like acclimate your body to, the oxygen level at that height. And so,
And then there's like a little like entrance to where he finds Robin, who's tied up to a chair. And poor Robin, he's been sitting in his costume just for 2-3 days, probably more. I mean,
probably more because he thinks he's been in the cave for 2 days. He was already missing for 2 days before Batman even started, this adventure in the first place. So, he probably smells kind of ripe right now.
He's a little ripe in that. Yeah. Alfred's going to have, he's going to have some fun washing that costume. That's for sure. Let's just pick a new one.
Yeah. Little baking soda, just a laundry tip. Baking soda gets rid of that smell.
There you go. Well, there you go. And I'm sure Alfred knows that. He knows everything. Probably knows some other secret, ancient Chinese secret, huh? That's a deep pull from like an old commercial. Anyways, so yeah, he's strapped to a chair, and then of course there's a bunch of masked goons and I love this too. It's like it's a little thing that happens in Batman the Animated Series where Batman's kicking some ass and someone's just watching, just kind of so we get Robin just kind of going, huh, like. Just watching Batman because he can't do anything.
Because it's just like what Candace did that. I think in Two-Face Part 1. Yeah,
reminding me of that because it's just like Batman's kicking all kinds of ass, and you're just seeing the point of view of somebody who's just watching. And this time it's Robin because he can't do anything because he's strapped to the chair, and it's just kind of it kind of makes you kind of go like, yeah, I mean, Batman's the best. He took them all out, and we didn't even need Robin's help, and it's just like, and he's. I mean, this is why maybe, he looks up to, well, not only because, Bruce adopted him, but, I get why his picture was on his dresser. I get it. We get it.
Of course, I love it when he kicks all the ass and then he unties Robin and you just hear the clapping. Like, and then, which by the way, before we get to the big reveal about, Raish did this whole thing. I want to take a moment to show respect to Raish's fashion sense, because the dude's wearing a green suit. I mean, green coat, green pants with a tie, and a very stylish, gold trimmed green cape. I mean, that's a fashion statement right there.
Oh no, it's good. It's good stuff. It's really good. And And then of course, he obviously Batman knows. I love how he quickly just grabs like the or the helmet, whatever
The
you want to
helmet
call it.
hood,
Yeah.
something, whatever.
Yeah. He just grabs it off because he knows. And then of course, Rach goes, yeah, but when did you know? And then of course he starts explaining all the convenient stuff that was happening, especially when there was like the certain time when they were in whatchamacallit, and he didn't go first that time.
In
And it was like
Malaysia,
Batman
yeah.
went, yes.
No,
Batman went first. Yeah.
I love the fact though that he basically calls all the way back to the Batcave going,
Yeah.
you said they were abducted on the same night.
Yeah.
How would you know that?
Exactly.
Unless I was the one who abducted them. Oh, David
Mhm.
Warner. Oh,
God, he's
man.
so good. God, he's so good. I watched Tron like probably a month ago, maybe less.
Master Control.
Oh my God. I mean, that voice is just there too, because when he plays the villain, when he plays that type, it's just a presence. It's a presence in his voice right there. And then of course we get the fact, yeah, hey, all of a sudden he starts mentioning about Talia, and then there she is.
Yeah, that's an outfit. That's an
you want to talk about showing the hourglass figure? It shows the hourglass figure. That's her name, short. Yeah, stomach exposed, hips a little bit. Yeah.
Oh man, like half her hips are like hanging
it's
out.
low. Yeah, they're not high rise pants she's wearing. It's low rise. It's showing.
And then you get like the boob window in like the crop top basically that she's wearing. I mean,
oh man,
that's like full on like belly dancer outfit that she's wearing.
That's what I was thinking too, like something Jasmine would wear, or something too, like something like that, yeah. And they went for it, and then Robin, and I love how clueless Robin is. He's like, what the fuck is going on? You have a history with these people? What is happening? Like he has no clue what's going on.
And Batman's like, I'm done with this bullshit.
Yeah,
I'm ready. You ready to go? And
yeah.
Robin's like, well, it was just getting interesting. I love Lauren Lester's delivery of that is fabulous because it's funny.
Yeah.
But it's not like a one-liner. It's like this dry kind of, all right, we're just getting interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I was just starting to figure out what was going on. Apparently this woman loves you. She's like in love with you and all this stuff. Oh
and
man.
That guy is her dad.
Yeah. And apparently he put you through all this by kidnapping me. I was just like, what the? I'm like, he's probably just going, yeah, it's just getting interesting. I reek under this costume right now. I need a shower. Now,
it's like, by the way, what I wanted to point out, because now's the time, when the reveal of Talia happens, the issue that this episode is directly adapted from, that's where the issue ends.
Oh, that's where. Oh, okay. So we'll use it at the cliffhanger right there.
Actually, it's not even a cliffhanger because the next issue, 233,
doesn't pick up.
Doesn't pick up.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
When by the time we move on to what becomes part 2 of this episode, and I'll mention again next week, that's not until 12 issues later.
Oh wow. Interesting. I didn't know that. Well, there you go.
Yeah. But yeah, so 232 just sort of ends with, because we don't get like the Lazarus Pit reveal or anything like that in the comic. You just get this guy is Talia's dad. And like, that's the big dun, dun, dun of that issue.
Interesting. No, it would have been, that could have been a cliffhanger with this one too, but I think
we would have missed out on.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, yes, I know, but I'm just saying like I could see how it could be a cliffhanger, but yes, we get a better cliffhanger.
Well, because we don't need the cliffhanger in the animated series
because we already know her.
We already know it. Off Balance already clued us into that. So
good point right there. But yes, all of a sudden he starts, as he's upset that Batman, of course, doesn't want to, and then of course the strike 3 happens.
Oh god, because he's like walking out and Uber's like, the master did not give you permission to leave. I didn't ask.
He's like, I didn't ask for it. And then all of a sudden, they have like a little, something I love how he just grabs like his fist and just starts squeezing
cracking
it. You hear that cracking noise? I'm like, there you go. Strike fucking 3 right there. But then of course, Raish is just starting to really just lose it, gasping for air, pretty much falling over, dying almost.
By the way, how unprogressive is it that Raish is like, I didn't have any sons, and I must have a man to continue my work. And I'm just like, dude,
true,
especially in the comics, when you know where Talia goes, it's like, fucker.
Well, I mean, he's been around. He's been around for a while, so he has to learn a little, some little things. But I mean, obviously, he reveals that this whole thing was just to be like, "Hey, you're the one. You're like my you're my unborn child, essentially. Like you're who I wanted as a.
I need you to be the next Ras al Ghul.
Exactly, essentially. But yeah, so then all of a sudden we get to the Lazarus Pit. I mean, and it's just like it's such a okay, what is happening here? If you didn't know anything that was going on, I mean, obviously Batman doesn't know what's going on, but Robin's going like, what am I in? This has just been the weirdest week of my life right here. Jesus Christ.
And they go into this big cave. I appreciate the quality of Batman, that he just got put through all of this and he's willing to listen to Talia and carry this dying man's body to wherever they say, like that. That's once again, that's this aspect of Batman that's like, here's Raish, he's dying, Batman's willing to help.
Yeah, because what else are they gonna do? Like, they're out, like they're up here, they're not gonna be able to like go anywhere, get a doctor, get to a hospital or anything like that. If there's something that can save him, then by gosh, let it happen. And here's the scene right here, which is just such a great cliffhanger for this episode. And it's just the way it's done too is just really cool.
Oh god, the music
and then the sound and everything. I like how Robin doesn't have his utility belt also.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And like how they put him on there with his with his hands crossed like that.
And of course it's like bubbling and boiling. Yep. Oh,
killed him.
Yeah, and then automatically it's like, we've killed him.
All is well.
Oh,
and this right here. Oh, just look at that. That's
red
just,
eyes.
And the fire coming out of it. Yeah.
Oh, and it's all that glowing green.
And it just leaps out, man.
It's so dramatic. It's like, does this happen every time he goes into the Lazarus Pit?
Right? I know. Is it always like this? And then he's just like, here I am. And then he starts laughing. Oh, God.
And then the way he like bear hugs her right there.
And then just like, all right, I'm just going to throw you off here.
And he just kicks Batman's ass. Literally kicks it.
Yep. Oh, man.
This is one of the best part one enders ever.
Yes.
And the music.
So good.
Oh, so good.
That's the way to send it off. And again, you never know if something's going to be a part one at all. So just to see that, you're like, holy shit. And then just watching right now, you're like, yeah, such a good way to end the episode, part one. Woo. Good.
Yeah, and really, and since I said that, the issue this is adapting wasn't a part one. It was it was a one and done story, and they just came back to it a year later, basically. And it's I love it. It's just so good.
Yeah, it's so freaking good. Yeah, this is top tier episode. I'm trying to remember, like, if it does it. We always talk about part one, always a strong one. Is part two going to be?
No. This is one of those where
that kept strong.
I think this is one, and I'm trying to. Of course, I remember very clearly how part two ends. It's so iconic. It's also a very direct adaptation of the issue that it's based on. But I think this is one where, as far as like the setup / action quotient, is probably one of the most balanced of a two-parter that I can remember, because we're not dealing with, like a Clayface or a Two-Face issue where the animation changes drastically from one episode to the other. We're in more of like a Shadow of the Bat situation where you watch part 1 and part 2 and they look like they are of a piece.
Yes.
They look like they're the same.
Yeah.
But we talked about with Shadow of the Bat how part 1 had all the setup and part 2 had all, the action.
Okay.
But I think we felt the same way about Two-Face. No, not
Yeah.
Two-Face. Feet of Clay. I think we felt the same way.
Yeah.
But I think Demon's Quest is one that like you can watch part 1 and really enjoy it, and then you can watch part 2 and really enjoy it. But we'll revisit that next week.
Yeah, of course. That's what we'll be doing next week. That's right, guys. Part 2 for next week for the Demon's Quest. And yeah, man, just a good episode. And yeah, everything, I don't know. It's top tier. Could be very much in a top 10 situation when it comes to this. I think eventually when it comes to season 1, we'll do an episode where we kind of just rank off maybe our top 10 or something, or top 5 or something.
Because we are really close to the end of season 1.
We are. We're getting very close because there's like what, 64, 65 episodes, 66 maybe?
Okay, hold on. Guys, I know off the top of my head, we've got episodes like, so we got Demon's Quest Part 2, and then we've got his Silicon Soul, and then we've got
after Demon's Quest Part 2, we got his Silicon Soul, Fire from Olympus.
Yes.
Read My Lips. And the Worry Men.
That's it. That's the end of season 1.
Yeah, crazy, man.
So and then I think you and I have talked about it that after that, I mean, that's when we Mask of the Phantasm. Yeah. Like that's production wise, that's where we slot it in. So
definitely that's going to be great to revisit because I haven't watched that in so long.
Oh, you haven't?
Oh, it's been a while. Now, it hasn't been like a long time, but it's been a few years for sure. But,
see, for me, it's been like months.
Yes, yeah, I know. I thought about too, like, because it's on HBO Max, right?
Oh yeah, it's on HBO Max. Yeah.
I thought about like firing it up, but I think after when we started doing this, I was like, nah, I'll wait till like it comes time to when we have an episode where we talk about it. So that's gonna be fun. But yes, guys, there's the Demon's Quest Part 1. Make sure you guys watch Part 2 and join us next week on Batman the Fan-imated stream, and hopefully we'll have great things to say about it. And hopefully, Robin will have a shower by then because he needs it. I could smell him just by watching the episode. He's reeking. He's reeking. Anything else to add to this episode?
I think we have said this. I mean, honestly, I love it when we get to these great episodes and like the discussion just goes on. And, like, there's nothing to add at the end because it's like we couldn't stop talking about it while we were talking about it. Pretty much. And yes, we mentioned it with the first time we saw Talia that yes, Helen Slater is the voice, Supergirl herself. Somebody mentioned that in the chat, and and I looked at the voice of Ubu because I was like, "Who is this guy?" And he's nobody, right? Well, he's done some stuff. He's a Fijian actor. But literally, only one movie he appears in have I actually seen because he was actually a pawnbroker in Paycheck. Oh, wow. Wow. Anybody knows what Paycheck is? It's one of John Woo's, like, it was one of his last movies before he took a break, right? I think Paycheck was one of his last ones before he took this. It was because it was 99. Yeah. Affleck and Uma Thurman. Yeah. And watching John Woo do a Philip K. Dick story, which is two things that have never been further apart. I'm telling you, and it was funny too because I was on kind of a Mission Impossible kick yesterday. I watched the first one, De Palma, which is still arguably my favorite. Yeah, it's my favorite. I just had it on as I was working on. I was writing my video that I did yesterday, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna put Mission Impossible on. I just feel like watching Mission Impossible. Then I went, fuck it, I'm gonna watch the sequel, and it's such a drastic turn. Oh, it gives me such whiplash. Yeah, but I love it. That's what I love, and I just love John Woo. That's all. But yeah, you're right though. It's like to have John Woo integrated into certain genres, especially existing stuff. Obviously Mission Impossible 2, different thing. It's an existing IP, but it's a whole different story. But yeah, to be put into that world, to combine those two, yeah,
That's pretty. It's not a bad movie for
No,
sure.
it's a very entertaining movie.
Yeah, it's an
Actually,
entertaining movie. I mean,
yeah.
I remember watching it and digging it. So, but yeah, the Woo Man, and of course he's going to be coming out with something soon, which I'm looking forward to. But anyways, guys, thank you for spending some time with us talking about this episode. Always a lot of fun. Go ahead, Scott, send us off.
Well, of course, you can find me on Twitter at ScottDC27. You can find my podcast, the DC Squadcast, where podcasts can be found. Which, by the way, we just dropped our latest episode 2 hours ago.
Nice.
It is a continuation of our The Batman Scene by Scene podcast, where Batman's interrogating the Penguin in his office, and we meet Selena Kyle for the very first time. So you can catch that in your podcast feed right now. We're on Vero, Facebook, YouTube, and you can still find the entire network of shows at squadcastmedia.com. I will go ahead and tease it over at patreon.com/squadcastmedia. Our Batman Forever review is out, and our next review on Squadcast Movies Patreon will be 300.
Nice. Love it. Love it. All right, guys, smash that like, thumbs up before you leave. Make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell, all that stuff. All the Patreon, the sock meds are down below. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Talk to you later.